Welcome back to Pitcher University. Today we're going to be talking about how a pitcher and a catcher can cultivate their relationship with each other to make the battery stronger. The first thing you really want to do is just start the process of communicating, and really that should start happening in practice, during bullpens, during live, kind of any chance you get to talk. And then you always want to make sure you check in before the first pitch of the game, and then ideally before each inning if you have time. So in practice, what you want to start the conversation about, you want to talk about pitch preferences, if you're an up ball or down ball pitcher, your go-to pitches in certain situations, situational pitching, like if there's runners on and scoring position, what do you want to throw? What are your preferences? Slappers, what are your preferences to throw to them? That sort of thing. Because both the pitcher and the catcher are going to have their own preferences, and you really want them to work together to come up with the best solution for that pair.
Also, in this communication, it's important to figure out how the pitcher likes to be talked to from the catcher when things aren't going well. So during a timeout, whether you prefer, if the catcher's just up front, if you needed a joke to be thrown in there, whatever it may be, and the pitcher can initiate this conversation. So like, for instance, at OU, Kinsey Hansen was very good about checking in about, do you still like how I approach you when I call a timeout? Do you still like to be told this? Do you want me to say anything different? But if your catcher isn't doing that, you as a pitcher can have that conversation with your catcher, and as well as your infield. If you want the infield to know what to say to you, or if you want them to talk to you, it'd be good to have a conversation with them about that as well. And then more so for catchers, learning what your pitcher's body language is when they're starting to spiral a little bit. All the catchers at OU, specifically Hansen, was very good at detecting when I was starting to kind of, what's that called?
Go down the rabbit hole.
Go down the rabbit hole a little bit, sometimes even before I noticed it. So being able to detect that, and that also kind of comes from communication. And if you start to notice as yourself as a pitcher, like, this is what I do, then letting your catcher know so that they can call timeout. If you don't call timeout is also really important.
Real quick, I would say not just your catcher, but whoever else you decide that you want to have in your circle to talk to you. It's like, don't limit that just to your catcher. Okay, so
how did you talk to?
Oh, we should do a blooper reel at the end. So how did you like to be talked to by your catcher or your teammate?
Well, I didn't really have that conversation with my infield, other than like they just knew to cheer me on or say something and then I would nod. But with my catcher, I like to hear, we're just taking a break, like just very chill, nothing like it's going to be okay, like that happy medium of we're just going to take a break. I noticed that your routine was off or starting to spiral a little bit. So we're just going to take this time and like give you the time to reset. And then we would talk about what pitch I wanted to throw next and then be good. So that was enough time for me to be able to reset, but also like with somebody else there. So
it's easier with somebody else there.
Yeah.
It gives you
something accountable.
Yeah.
How about you?
I was kind of the same. Like, I didn't want to be coddled and be like, it's okay. Like, you're doing fine. Like, I'm not doing fine. Don't tell me I'm doing fine when I'm not. But, just say, like, take a break. If I got really bad, I needed a joke. I needed something to like make me laugh, because that would reset me, and then I could refocus again. But I know of pitchers out there who needed to be chewed out.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of pitchers like the jokes, or they need to like laugh a little bit and just kind of feel some lightheartedness to reset them. But it's really just important to know yourself and what you need as an individual. And it might change depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important to know also.
Then another thing I would add is just to make sure that you're always celebrating your catcher. They're sacrificing their knees for you. So, blocking.
And their thighs and their arms.
Everything, all their body parts, they're working for you. So if they get a good frame job that gets called a strike, make sure, nod your head or pick them up somehow if they're blocking a ball, whatever it is. Always celebrate them, because they're
every time you get a strikeout, or every time I got a strikeout, I would always point at my catcher, because they're the ones who either called the pitch or made me look good or whatever it was. It wasn't just me that did it. So they always got credit for every strikeout.
I was a little point too, a little glove.
Yeah. Whatever it is, like just some sort of nod that they see. Because, it's not for anybody else. And that being said, you always want to make sure that you have a really good on-field relationship with your catcher. But I have a lot of kids, and we have to talk about this a lot. You don't have to be friends with your catcher off the field. I can't tell you how many times that I had catchers who we had a really good on-field relationship, but we did not get along off the field at all. And, you have to be mature enough to be able to do that, but it's also not the end of the world if you just, are kind of oil and water and don't mix. That's okay. Just figure out how to work together between the lines. I don't know. Have you ever experienced that?
I haven't experienced that in college, and I feel like even before that, I had like good relationships with my catchers, so I
Yeah.
haven't really had that experience. So
It
yeah,
definitely makes it easier,
yeah.
but like them or not, you have to have the conversations. You have to know each other's preferences and tell them what to look for in your routine if something changes and how to be talked to and all that. It really doesn't matter what your feelings are for each other off the field at all. Let us know if you have any questions or other things that you've run into with the relationship with your catcher. We'll be happy to talk about it, but we felt like these were probably the most important things to talk about because having a good battery relationship makes all the difference in the world. It really does. So thank your catchers all the time, celebrate your catchers, and give them all the credit.